Today we're talking about cooler climate places to live in Southeast Asia. Before we get into the video, let's set expectations. We're in the tropics. It's not going to be that cool, so before you expect some nice little icy, snowy getaway, you're not going to get it here. Nevertheless, if you like places with consistent all year round temperature, anywhere at elevation near the equator is going to be a dream for you, really. The first location is Ubud in Bali, and although it isn't cool, it is very consistent all year round, and it's generally quite cloudy and it drizzles quite a lot, so you're not going to have that scorching, blistering sun most of the time. It's only about 200 meters up, and it ranges from about 20 or 30 degrees every day, with the minimum getting around anywhere from 18 to 22 and the maximum getting up to around 30. Really nice place, very beautiful too, and it's a bit more set up than some of the places on this list. And by that I mean set up for foreigners, set up for remote working, for retirees, whatnot. The next one, and one of my personal favorites on this list, is the Cameron Highlands in Malaysia. The Cameron Highlands is a tea growing region, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's at about 1,000 meters in elevation depending on where you are, and this is probably one of the best places if you really do like the cooler weather but not cold. The average minimum temperature is around 15 degrees and average maximum is around 22 degrees, and there's very little seasonal variation there because we're very high up and we're close to the equator. If you like tea, old colonial architecture and buildings, and just a more calm, more relaxed place to live with a few less foreigners, this is just a great option, and it really is underrated in my opinion. It's such a nice place to get away to escape the heat. The next one is Baguio in the Philippines. Being quite high in both latitude and elevation, you're going to get cooler temperatures but more seasonal variation here. So you're looking at anywhere from 22 to 25 max temperatures, and the minimums range more around the low teens, but that just depends on the season. This is a very popular and more pricey as far as the Philippines goes place to live and get away. It's very popular with locals, particularly during holidays, and it's a pretty nice city. I haven't been there myself, so I can't speak to it. Nevertheless, it's something worth looking into. The next one is the city of Dalat in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. This is a great place to be. It's 1,500 meters up, and it's 14 to 23 degrees as the minimum maximum temperatures pretty much every day of the year. Massive agricultural region. The coffee growing there is prevalent and really good. It's a good place to be. It's really cool. Again, as with most of the places on this list, there's a lot of local tourists there because they go from the lowlands to get away from the heat on weekends, holidays, whatnot. So bear that in mind in all these places. You're going to have a lot of locals traveling around as well as foreigners. The next place, which I acknowledge does get hot, but to include something in Thailand on this list, and Leh province is the best one. That's in between north and northeast Thailand, pretty close to Vientiane in Laos, and this province here is probably the coolest in Thailand by many people's regards. It gets hot during the days. In April, it's still going to be up at 35, 36 degrees. But when you're up here, it does cool down at night. So if that's the main problem for you, sleeping in the heat, you don't have to worry about that as much. It gets anywhere from, in December, it might get down to 16, whereas the average minimum in April, the hottest month, is 22. So that's pretty comfortable for most people once you get used to the heat. However, it still gets hot during the day, so bear that in mind. The next place is Sapa in Vietnam, and this would be the coolest place on the list. It's probably the most northern with the exception of Baguio, and it's one of the highest up as well. Sapa is one of the more seasonal on this list. It can be anywhere from 12 to 23 degrees maximum daily temperature, depending on the month, and the daily low tends to be 6 degrees lower than that. It actually gets cold here. It's the only place in Southeast Asia, to my knowledge, that gets snow, and it's not regular, but it has had snow in the past, but it does routinely get close to zero in the colder months around January and whatnot. The last one on this list is Pai, and granted it still gets hot, but people like Thailand, so I feel like we should include it. It's probably pretty similar to Leh. I think Leh is a bit cooler. Nevertheless, the weather in Pai from November to January is beautiful, to say the least. It's, gets down to maybe 18, 20 most nights, and nice and still, not very humid, up to maybe 28, 29 degrees. So if you want just that warm climate, it's a great time to be there. And especially if you're down south or in central Thailand and you want to break just for a few months, heading up there and staying a month or two in Pai is going to be a really nice way to just unwind and get away from the heat for a bit. That's it for the video. Hopefully it gave you some ideas, some thoughts as to where you might want to go. And yeah, let us know what you think, and hope and hear from you.